Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Vern's Misadventure. So we're back on the Compaq Portable 386. When you last saw this thing, it was working just great. We just put a new cable on the keyboard and everything was lovely. So shortly after finishing that video, I was playing a game of pesky robots with it just to kind of see what it looked like on the plasma. And poof! Started belching smoke and smelled fishy, so I feel pretty confident to say we popped a cap. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing torn down to where we can open up the power supply and see if we can find which cap has popped. So the good news here is that we don't have to take the entire computer apart. Bad news is we have to take almost the entire computer apart. So this cover covers the CPU. You can see that we have the coprocessor installed. You take all these screws out to get to this. It's like a riser board. So you don't want to rock that one coming apart because it's got these connectors here. Alright, then this covers the RAM. So once you get the screws loosened, you can't always get them out because you need to get long nose pliers and remove them from the area. So that's fun. It's got all these cables that wrap around there and come through. This cable's there for the floppy, the IDE for the hard drive, and the power for the same. It's got these standoffs that need to come out. This cable here's got to come off. So with one screw out, you can slide the entire drive tray out, which is kind of convenient. It's not a smooth slide exactly, but it will slide out. I've got my left hand on the power supply there. So with the drives accessible, it'd be a good time to think about maybe retrobrighting the faceplate for the floppy. As you can see, it's pretty gross. There's a connector there that needs to come off of the power supply before we can actually remove it. Okay, here's the tricky part. There are 4 screws and they all mount kind of behind where the monitor would be. So to get to the ones at the top of the machine, I just put a bit in these pliers and broke the screws loose. Now you just kind of swing the monitor out, but you don't want to pull it up yet. Okay, and then once you get it loose enough, you can get the screws out. Of course, I managed to drop one down at the bottom, but it's easy enough. It's just laying down that little tray area where the cable is generally. Keyboard cable is generally stored, and I was able to reach in there and grab it once I moved the screen out the way. Yep, got it. Alright, so the bottom ones are easier. You just slide the monitor up out of the way into its raised position. Then you can fairly easily get those last two screws that hold the power supply in place. Alright, what we got to do now, put the screen back down and turn it over. I'll put the screen down first. Alright, now it'll just kind of slide on out of there. Of course, it doesn't slide very smoothly, just like the drive tray didn't. But it will come out with a little patience and perseverance. Okay, look at that. There's the power supply. Move all this other stuff out the way. We'll start digging into this, see what we can find. Once again, you know, it's hard to get the screws out of there with your fingers, so a pair of long nose pliers goes a long way to help. I opened up this little, what is it, IDC? IEC? IDC? I think it's IDC. I'll put a thing. Anyway, I opened that up to see if it had pop capacitors in there, because there could be filter caps in there, like refuzz or something. It was all tarred together. Wasn't much I could do with that. I'm trying to scrape the tar out of there. I was sure I was going to damage components. It didn't smell like fish, so I'm thinking that probably wasn't the source of our problem. So after all that, I moved on to locating this one capacitor here. Of course, to get to that capacitor, I ended up taking out another one. So I'll explain coming up here. Exactly what happened with that. I had this glue or something sticking them together, so I'm scraping that loose so we can break them apart and get them off the board here. So that was fun. The bent pins are always fun too. So, dug around in the power supply and I found this capacitor. It's all swollen up. It's broken its little jacket here that it wears. And when I test it with this parts tester, it comes back as unknown damaged part. So I feel pretty confident that that might have been our culprit here that smoked us up here. I don't see anything else. Yeah, anyway, that's my plan. I'm just going to replace that one capacitor, or those two capacitors, whenever the parts come in. At any rate, got a nice big tip on here. Oh man, we will just quickly solder this closed to make sure that it stays closed. The battery should be, it's a Tadira 3.6 high energy lithium battery. So we would, let's move this case so we don't damage it, and we'll fiddle with this a little bit. Y'all, look at this here now. Is this my fault? Am I just an idiot, or? Now look where this was. It's on the underside of the motherboard tray. Did they tell us that? No. Let me show you what they told us. Look at here. What does that tell you? Does that say on the underside of the motherboard tray. The motherboard tray is not even in the picture.
Throw me a frickin' bone here.
So it's got this zip ties that hold it on. Put those. And lift it off. I'm going to leave the zip ties in place so I remember where it goes, I guess. It says do not recharge. So I guess it doesn't charge the battery while it runs. Do I make the inference from that we could just replace it with a button battery? Be done with it? Wants 3.3 volts. So there's not a whole lot of Retrobright work that needs to be done here. This is pretty gross. So this has yellowed an awful lot. So I'd like to get the button and this. I'd like to get those Retrobrighted. So this is the color it's supposed to be, and this is the color it is. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we need to prepare this for Retrobright. So it needs to be disassembled. When I had it apart yesterday, I noticed that there's a lot of stabilizers on here. I don't really want to rip, pull, tear, and break. So I think if I took this off of here again, I think it would give me a better chance at getting to all that. So let us do that. I'm going to pour out a little bit of this finishing cream. I'm going to lay out our plastic real nice. Nice and straight. Nice and straight. Nice and straight. Nice and... Ah!
You have failed me for the last time.
Alright, well I guess we're going to run with this. I took the space bar out to see if it was about what I wanted. I think it is. I didn't bother to film like an idiot. So anyway, here's what we got in the box. So we'll get it unwrapped and we'll see what we got after we clean them. Apparently this is what we're going to get. And I think it's a vast improvement over what we had. So I guess we can start putting it back together, huh? So I'm thinking the hot setup here will be to disassemble. We'll put all the keys that have to have stabilizers. We'll do those first, I guess. The only particular one here is the space bar. So those little white deals, we're going to call them the end links, right, for the stabilizer bar. First thing I do here, of course, is to pop it into the switch. And then the stabilizer end links need to be put in as they're indexed into the stabilizer bar for the space bar, because it's made of plastic, and I learned the hard way on another computer that they don't flex very well without breaking. So here I've got it. I'm going to put it in just kind of cockeyed, and then I'm going to index it with the stabilizer bar. And then once I've got that into that stabilizer bar slotted in there, and then I'll finish pushing it into the space bar. And that method seemed to work pretty well, and I didn't break anything in the process. So everything else was pretty straightforward with the metal stabilizers, which you can flex and bend to an extent without causing any problems. So with that, we'll just wash, rinse, repeat. Alright, there it is. One freshly retrobrighted keyboard with a new cable on it. What we gotta do now is fix the computer and we can use it, right? So in the next episode, we'll definitely be putting the new caps in the power supply, and we will take it for a spin. We'll see what else we can get into. Well, thank you for watching the video. I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And until the next one, y'all take care.